I've been consuming some Star Wars content recently, and I'm lazy, so here is a Star Wars themed video. There are 4 categories that I'm going to sort the types into: Jedi, Sith, Bounty Hunter, and Outlaw. As I go along, those categories will probably explain themselves. Okay, let's get into it. ESTPs. As Han Solo once said, hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side. That is what I imagine the ESTP philosophy to be in the Star Wars universe. I wouldn't say that ESTPs intentionally bring about chaos, but rather, they just take things as they come. Their unflappable ease means that they navigate chaos very well. They feel comfortable in it. They're also not fond of what you might call rules. That puts them firmly in the outlaw group for me. ISTPs. I would describe ISTPs as demystifiers. They will take a concept and pick or tear it apart. They'll boil it down to its essential elements, attaining a deep form of insight. In my view, they also have a natural facility with tools and instruments of all kinds. They are high up on the kinesthetically gifted scale, being able to marry the intellectual and physical expertly. They have the tendency to get immersed or even obsessed with their craft, their skill, their hobbies, you name it. I think they would make great bounty hunters. They can simply focus on getting the job done and executing, in every sense. INFJs. INFJs have an uncanny foresight that will prove invaluable when anticipating the subtle machinations of the more nefarious folk in the galaxy. They'd be adept at mending rifts, navigating around people long term, and having the kind of calm and serene demeanor that would make them connect with the Force more easily. On the topic of Force, INFJs rarely act from that. This makes them perfect for the non-antagonistic and defensively minded Jedi. ISFJs. The kindness of the ISFJ is akin to the warm embrace of a Tatooine sunset, fostering a profound empathy and concern for the well-being of others. They readily take up the mantle of guardians, healers, and diplomats, wielding their powers in the name of peace and justice. I think the ISFJ makeup would translate to them having an acute understanding of the teachings of the Force, its traditions, and history, providing them with a solid foundation upon which to build their wisdom. So it's Jedi for the ISFJ. INTJs. I can picture INTJs weaving intricate webs of strategy and plotting the demise of their enemies with the precision of a master mental craftsman. That deep, simmering emotion that boils up in them has more than enough chaos in it to turn them dark. Driving ambition, a thirst for conquest, the need to control and structure externally. To me, INTJs belong in the Sith category. ISFPs. I imagine ISFPs to be cosmic vagabonds, living untamed and moving like the wind across the universe. As an archetype, they embody freedom and possibly defiance as well. They'd make perfect rebels, in every sense of the word. I think they belong in the outlaw category. Technically, the rebels themselves would have been outlaws, so it fits for me. ISTJ. I think ISTJs fit very well into a Mandalorian-style religious order of dutiful, diligent people. They are meticulous, methodical, and show deep dedication to whatever principles resonate with them. This makes them formidable foes and excellent hard workers. The prospect of being hunted by a type as relentless as an ISTJ is terrifying. They'd be a great fit in the bounty hunter category. ENTP. ENTPs want freedom. I don't often hear them mention that word, but that's what it is at its core. The ENTP type cannot be boxed in. If you try to do that, it won't end well. This runs deep with them. They have a certain anti-authoritarian streak that can manifest literally, or in smaller ways too. Even if they agree with an opinion or an approach, they'll feel an instinctive urge to challenge it, just for the sake of it. I think I'll put them in the outlaw category. INTPs. I was tempted by Outlaw for INTPs, but I think that the Jedi Order might appeal to them. They're not necessarily people who want that kind of structure, but the Jedi Order is built more so on a set of principles. The philosophy it extols is one of removing emotional turmoil in favor of clarity and a certain purity of thought. That is definitely up the INTP street to me, so I'll put them in Jedi. ESFJ. Conflict mediation is one of the main powers of the ESFJ. They are a type who can get a massive amount done using finesse rather than forcefulness. I think the ESFJ fits seamlessly into the Jedi category. Their nurturing nature, strong sense of community, and desire to uphold peace and harmony align well with the values of the Jedi Order, so I'll put them there. ENTJs. ENTJs are ambitious, with a certain lust for power. Their strategic foresight and cunning make them formidable in the ongoing battle for power in the galaxy. They can be ruthlessly efficient and coldly rational. They also have that impulsiveness and emotional intensity that can bubble up and boil over at times, making them ripe for the emotional fieriness that the Sith experience. I think that ENTJs are quite a natural fit in the Sith category. ESFPs. In a universe that is explorable, it's hard to imagine ESFPs resisting that call to adventure and choosing to bind themselves to systems and orders of any kind. They'd want to be free, roaming, adventuring, and potentially causing some chaos along the way. It is in their nature to resist restriction and follow their impulse at any given point. I think that ESFPs would be drawn to the unbridled path of the outlaw. ENFPs. Typically, an ENFP will not want to be limited, given their chaos monkey nature, but I think they would relish any chance to add some kind of structure and stability to their values, to have some way to make their ideational nature actually contribute to something bigger and meaningful. For that reason, I think the Jedi Order would be appealing to them. INFPs. INFPs are empathetic, often gentle, and somewhat passive in their vibe. I have noticed a trend with INFPs feeling a strong connection to nature. Not sure where that comes from really, but I can see them tapping into the Force fairly straightforwardly. Despite being deeply in touch with their own emotions, they tend to be quite private with them. In fact, as I've said in previous videos, they can even come across as stoic. I think the Jedi category fits them very well. ESTJ. ESTJs are like the organizational taskmasters of the universe, pathologically workmanlike and more than happy to whip anyone into shape. The intensity, pushiness, and need to get things done makes them brilliant wherever they are. But, in this universe, I think they'd be on the darker side of the spectrum. In my view, the Darth Vader of the original trilogy is himself an ESTJ. He's like everyone's tyrannical, terrifying boss. I'm going to put ESTJs in the Sith category. ENFJs. ENFJs can be natural social catalysts, connectors of people, bridge makers, and bridge menders. They're also a deeply intuitive type. I think that sometimes that gets overlooked. They also make great mentors, for those same reasons. If I had a young Padawan, I can't think of a better type than an ENFJ to teach them and guide them. Their combination of empathy, intuitiveness, and more than enough forcefulness when needed make them a great fit for the Jedi. Recently, we made our Discord server much easier to join. If you've attempted to join before but didn't make it on, then feel free to give it another try. And if you've been tempted before, resist temptation no more. Give yourself to the dark side. Also, subscribe.